Hello. Welcome to the Tour of Pleasure, the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I am the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom, Zip Gun, and your host for this segment of Where Not to Start. Famous bands we're going through some here. Today, Velvet Underground. Well, hey, I mean, everything the Velvets did is fantastic, right? Nah, not really. Where not to start with the Velvet Underground? Well, of course, that's the premise of this whole series. Where do you start? Well, that's tricky, but I can tell you where you don't start. Don't start where Lou Reed isn't on the record. Okay, so that eliminates the album Squeeze, which isn't as terrible as everybody says, but it's not very good, and it's not a Velvet Underground record. Not even remotely. Also, avoid live albums. They're not bad, but the sounds are crummy, and they don't pack the impact of the studio albums, I don't think. In both ways, because the Velvets were a really schizophrenic band. They could be very melodic, very delicate, very nice. They could be savage. They could be almost subhumanly brutal. And, somewhere in between. So, you're down to basically, they made 4 major records. Avoid the sort of barrel scraping records, VU, and what's the other one called? Another View. They're good, they're solid, but don't start with them. No, there's 3 Velvet Underground lineups of note. The original lineup with Nico and John Cale, Mo Tucker, and Sterling Morrison, and they made a classic record, Velvet Underground and Nico, which I like enough to have bought the 45th anniversary 3-disc version, which features some live stuff on it that's really cool. And that record is great. And if you don't think the idea of a female vocalist who doesn't speak very good English is a good idea, and you want kind of more hard rock, then their second record is for you, because that's what happened. She left the band. They did White Heat, White Light, Heat, which is just about, well, you could say it's the first Noise record. Very little melody in this record, a couple of unbelievably unhinged guitar workouts, and an 18-minute long Louie kind of electronic, sludgy, dirgy thing that goes on forever and ever and ever and ever, and which you just don't ever want it to stop. Both of these records are A+. Nobody bought them when they came out. It's amazing that they're legendary. Brian Eno once famously said that everybody who bought a copy when it first came out ran out and formed a band, and he could be right. But their third record, now a lot of people like the Velvets from the third album. John Cale quit, or was told to quit, by Lou, and he was replaced by a guy named Doug Yule. Now, Doug Yule was, of course, much more amenable to listening to what Lou said. And he played bass, and he was a good musician, but he didn't really put his stamp on the band until Loaded, and unfortunately his stamp on the band he wasn't as good a songwriter as Lou Reed. The third album is almost entirely Lou Reed's songwriting, and it's Lou at his delicate and fragile phase, and a lot of people absolutely adore this record, much more than the first 2. A lot of people don't like the second one at all, but they love the third one. And the third one really, really, really influenced a lot of people. So really, you should try any of the first 3, depending on whether you want female vocals, very quiet with male vocals, or basically proto-noise metal. And Loaded is not as good a record as everybody says it is. The band was breaking up. Lou isn't even on a lot of it. And it's got a couple of great songs on it, don't get me wrong. Sweet Jane, hey, rock and roll music. But it's got a bunch of duff songs on it too. And it's got the sound of a band that's just barely keeping on. So there you have it. The Velvet Underground. Where not to start? Yeah, make sure Lou Reed's in the band. That's first and foremost. And maybe make sure Mo Tucker's in the band too, because she got pregnant and couldn't play for a while. So And thirdly, it's better if John Cale's in the band. There you go. That's all I can say about the Velvets. You're on your own. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe. And we'll tell you when these come out. We're just shooting them out of here like machine gun bullets because we're trying to keep them short and sweet. Thanks for watching. Look after each other. Times is getting tough. Hopefully we will prevail. Take it easy.